Hey, Ben here with Stu on the Lake. Here's a little small project that I thought would be simple but isn't. It's cover plates for light switches and outlets. And here's one that I did 4 or 5 years ago. And the weakness in these are the center when you get them all cut down. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later on. But it's a standard switch outlet. I did switch the wood. That other one was made of basswood. This one I went ahead and switched. This is a piece of elm. And one of the things about elm is it's inherently unstable, but it has cross-linked grain in it. The grains are all interlinked like you were to stick your fingers together, and it's a little bit stronger. As a result, it is harder to carve. It's pretty much a hardwood along the lines of oak. But here's the layout of the switch plate. And I made it just a little bit larger because where it's going in an old cabin, there have been many renovations since then, and a standard switch plate a lot of times is a little bit too small, so we're going with a little bit of an oversized one here. And then as we've gone around the cabin here on the lake, each of these is kind of custom made for each outlet. And like I said, this seems like it would be a really simple project, but you'd be amazed at the engineering that goes into one of these plates and sitting on the wall and being flush. So here, the thing was cut out. I went ahead and drilled those holes in the center. And the first part of it is to get the actual outlet to fit underneath this thing. I mean, there's no point in carving something on the front of this until that outlet looks just right, and that is really a lot harder than it seems. So the first part of this video will be getting that together. So you can see I squared this up. It's really thick. It doesn't maybe a quarter of an inch, but look how thin the old one was. It's really thin, and this was made out of basswood, I believe, and it got banged or broken, or people plugging stuff in it broke itself. So we need a new one. So I went ahead and ground that plate down, and then, like I said, the first thing I'm going to do is make sure this plate is ready to go. But now if you look at this setup right here, and there's a little bit of water on it, that could be used just like it is. It's pretty much a finished project or product without the plug put in there, but the faceplate of it's good. So here's the tricky part. This is where it's not quite as simple as it would seem. That outlet has to be flush in the back, and yet, so you got to carve this portion of it away, and then it has to sit on the face of it flush to the front, or you can't plug a plug-in in it. If the plug-in is a little bit recessed in this thing, then you'll have difficulty plugging in the items that you're plugging in. So here is relief in the back, and I'm going relatively slow, even though this is speeded up, and I'm being really conscious of how thick I get. Look how thin this actual plate is. And that piece I just took off is an adjustment piece. It holds the screw in the plate, but it also allows you to set that plate a little bit off of it, which we definitely don't want to do. That thing's got maybe 3/32, 1/16 of an inch is all it is. The adjustment on the box, you might have to adjust those in the house if you played around with anything along those lines to get that flush to the wall. But that's the goal we're shooting. So the makeup there on that plate, we want the outlet inside to be flush with the plate on the front, not sticking out, not too far behind. And it's really a fine line. That's what makes this so tricky. And if you've ever tried to cut those ovals with the flats on the top, here's the original, and you can see where the fault line on this thing, the weakest part of it is that little piece in the center that broke out. So here's the back carved away, and keep in mind that there's going to be 2 screws, and that's what I'm drawing a hole in there on that plate that you may have to relief in the back too, because that gets screwed into the electrical outlet box. So there's the new one. You can see how thick that is. We're not recessed in the middle, and the next part of this is going to be getting that thing to sit up in the front. So I cut a groove away from the top. I'm being really conscious not to get too far to the front. It's not going to leave me a whole lot of depth on the face to carve away. And at any point in this thing, when you cut through, or it's screwed up. So there we go. We've got flush. I will take a file and clean up those edges just a little bit so it fits just a little bit better. But by and large, there is a plate that you could put on the wall. Now here's the part where you break the whole damn thing and have to start all over again. That screw in the middle is so thin, and yet it has to be thick enough to hold the whole thing, and yet it has to be recessed. Now here's a fun part too. Initially, you're going to see that this design that I'm running in fast forward time was I know it's hard to tell with my scribbling, but the original intent was for those to be pine cones. And when I got them all laid out, as is a lot of times the case, I didn't like the design. I didn't like it at all. So I sanded it off, and I grabbed a wood burner, and I went all Geordie on us and turned this into kind of a wood spirit, an elf wood spirit, because I'm going to put big old ears on him. I also do have to apologize. When I was filming this, I did tend to film it a little bit out of frame. So I'm hogging towards the top side of the video in a lot of this, and I apologize for that. I'll pay attention in the future, or maybe not, who knows. So I've got a little Kutzall burr there. It's not really a flame, it's more of a diamond point, and I'm just reliefing, leaving in the eyeballs, eyelids, that kind of thing. And then I'm going to cut down along the nose. No big secret here. This is the mini wood spirit type or face type carving. At this point, I have no plan other than kind of a mustache over the top plate, and then I just figured I'd run a beard down the sides. And this video, I won't get this guy finished, but I'll get him far enough along that I may or may not do another video on it. We'll see how well this is received. So I'm just gonna cut in the nose. There's a cheekbone line being cut in, and if you want to see how to carve a spirit or a wood face, Geordie does a real nice job over there at Carving Fusion. Several of the other carvers in the links below also do that, because wood spirits or faces seem to be a pretty popular thing. So there's the top of the eyebrow. That's what I just cut in, and I will relief that all back away. There's the relief of the portion of that. So I'm not real happy with the bottom of this, and if I do a second video, I might mess around with some of this. You'll see that a little bit later on. I'm laying the face out, and like I said, this guy is going to be kind of an elf, because I put big old pointy ears out on the side. So as opposed to an old man, this guy's kind of an old man elf, I guess, for lack of better reference. And some of this didn't get filmed. I'll switch back and forth to balls, primarily diamond bits. This elm is so hard that a lot of that stuff tends to burn. When I get a diamond bit in there, it just burns the wood as opposed to cuts the wood. So it's a pain in the butt. Yeah, I have done these birds and various different things out of this elm. This elm came off of West Point, United States Military Academy. It's set between the two cannons. It got Dutch elm disease. It was huge. I saw it one morning heading out to work in the back of a dump truck that had about a 10-foot section that quite literally was 10 foot around on the base. And I called the disposal folks, because we worked with them quite a bit, and asked them what they were doing with the rest of the tree, and they gave it to me. So I took my bandsaw mill and cut up, probably 1,500 board foot of this, and I've made tables and all kinds of things out of it. But it's beautiful wood. It looks a lot like black walnut, and doesn't require a stain. The only problem with it is it's unstable as can be. I've made some tables out of it that at any given time of year are subject to be warped one way or warped another way, and it's just kind of a pain in the butt. But it is a beautiful wood. So now I grabbed the wood burner. If people have been asking a little bit about the tools I use, the easiest way to figure that out is, without repeating myself, is to you guys to subscribe and then look back. And there's a couple power carving tool videos in the lineup. I think we're at 102, 103, somewhere in there, 105. Heck, I don't know, videos. But subscribe and you can go back and look through those videos. But I'm just kind of undercutting, and it doesn't even burn very well. It's so hard. So I'm kind of liking the way the guy's turning out. I am carving very shallow because I'm afraid I really don't want to cut through the back of this. Put in a couple eyes, the pupils in the middle of the eyes. And there are the ears that are coming out. Now, I think looking several years ago when I started looking at replacing these things or doing these for the cabin, kind of make a unique feel around the lakeside cabin or house, for lack of better reference. Several companies do sell wooden plates that will cover your light switches and your outlets. And if you didn't want to go through all the pain that I did of making this damn thing fit, you could get one of those and carve and probably come up with a pretty acceptable product. So there's a stone. Just Carve Rob, check him out. Also check Jordy out. But Just Carve Rob was talking about I get some stones from Germany. This is some that I've had many years, and it's I think it's a Proxima, and they do sell Proxima stuff, but they don't sell these stones. You could get those little tapered stones for €5, which would be $10, and they come in a pack of 20. And I bought several of them before I left. I'm down to my last 4 or 5, and I really should go to Germany, like Rob said, and get some more of those stones. That, or I suppose I could just find someone I know that's still living in Germany, and they could purchase those. So here I did the stone, put in the flow lines. Again, if you want to know how to do that on a beard, watch Jordy. He's the master of this stuff, and I'm just coming back and kind of highlighting. And I did say I'm not 100% that I like the bottom half of this. We'll have to see as I get a little further along. All told, this thing took probably 2.5, 3 hours this morning. If you want a time frame or a reference on how long to do these. So if you look around your house, I think every 8 foot, give or take, depending upon the code where you live, there'll be an outlet on every wall. And then go in the kitchen, and God forbid there's any number up under the counters. Hey, this is a velour file. I don't recommend you grab these because these sets are ridiculously expensive. But they're needle files, and they're velour, and I only go with the Swiss files because the cheap ones, like the bits that you get, just don't work as well. But unless you got $100-150 to spend. So here I'm just giving you an example. This is just water, and I'm about ready to end this video here, but I just put a coat of water on there to kind of give you an idea of what he's going to do. And like I said, I'm going to do some more work on this guy, and you'll see another video if I decide to do that. But here's the concept: outlets and switch cover plates. So as always, check everybody out below, like, subscribe. Hey, thanks a lot. This has been Ben with Studio on the Lake.